Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the X Button. I am one of your hosts, Alejandro, and with me is the anniversary man,
Paul. What's up, everybody?
I'm doing pretty good. Today we're not going to answer that. But, Paul, last episode we mentioned that this coming week you were going on an anniversary trip.
That is
after
correct.
Your marriage.
I am disappearing as soon as this is over.
Yeah, despite this posting on Monday and Thursday, whenever someone listens to the full episode, right, we had the rare opportunity that you're free on a Sunday. So I was like, okay, that's the opportunity. I don't have to ask for SAC or try to find ways to fill out during the week. We might as well do it all now. So,
and boy, do we have all of a lot.
Yes. When I was compiling the news, because we do the weekly roundups, I was kind of shocked how much there was. I was like, this is perfect because his wife is not there. We're basically getting all the work done now. So we have some meat to chew right now.
They waited for the week that I was trying to leave to say, oh, wait, but there's more.
Yes.
My goodness, we're going to have to sink our teeth into this one.
Yeah, so no, I've always been telling you that summer has always been the ones that I was always worried about because will we have anything to talk about? And it turns out this summer we did. But now we're in like chunky territory now. So Paul, with no preamble, press X.
For some news. Let's do this.
All right, Paul, so we're basically already in holiday territory, which is nuts to think about. How long we've been, how continuously we've been doing this show that we haven't missed a single week. Well, you did, I didn't.
I have, yeah.
For extraneous reasons, one being a vacation and another one being a natural disaster. But we're now on holiday, and this is supposed to be the time where people would be thinking, okay, console shortages have been bad all year. It's been horrible trying to get one of these consoles, but it's getting better. So maybe by the time we reach Black Friday or Christmas time, we'll finally have one that we can enjoy for the holidays. Well, if you were expecting that the supply shortages for the next-gen console was gonna ease up as the year got closer to the holiday, at least for one of the console manufacturers, there's some bad news. Number one, according to Bloomberg Japan, Sony has announced that they're cutting their forecast of selling 16 million consoles by the end of the 2021 to 2022 fiscal year. They expect to sell at least 15 million units now, and even then they're saying that's pushing it considering the scarcity of chip shortages that's slowing down many industries. Editor note, it should be noted that this chip shortage is the reason why Nintendo's stock dropped, due to investors foreseeing the problems this would cause for unit sales for the coming quarter. While selling 1 million less units may not seem like a big deal, it is a big deal for Sony that has been touting the fastest selling console of all time with the PS5, and the supply constraints have finally caught up to them, where the console is now selling slower than the PS4 in a comparative period of time. There's no news if Xbox is seeing a slowing of production, but in case they aren't, this gives them an opportunity to catch up, siphon out potential PS5 customers that throw their hands up in disgust and decide to go elsewhere. Poor people that have not gotten a PS5 yet.
Put up the Squidward sunbathing meme.
Yeah.
On one hand, it's like I'm once again reiterating how glad I was that I called it at the beginning of all of this. This was only going to get worse from the beginning. Granted, we did have a nice little uptick of supply, and a lot of my friends were able to pick up theirs because they had to mash that refresh button on all of their little notifications. They had to have they basically had to have the Batman utility belt of different apps and notifications and email things, and one of them lined up the right way, one of them maybe beat up an old lady, who knows. But the fact that so many people are still unable to get these and it was still selling faster than the PS4 was crazy. But now we're starting to see even more the effect of the pandemic affecting this, plus the actual semiconductor shortage.
Yeah. What's insane is that I expected this. I was like, there is no, like, when COVID was like slowing everything down, immediately before we started seeing numbers, I was like, there's no way the PS5 outsells the PS4 right now. There's no way. They're barely making these machines. They're always selling out so quickly. How is this happening? And for this whole year, I was just dumbfounded of like, this is insane that they're somehow like outpacing the PS4 in such a horrendous year of supply constraint. And it just so happens that it finally caught them that there's just not many chips. All these devices use these chips. Yep. It's insane how many industries use the same
electronics nowadays.
Yeah, this is the first time it really hit me that so many electronics have almost some of the same innards than you would expect. Because now that we're finally further into this year and now getting to feel the brunt of what the pandemic has done for distribution, it's kind of crazy that it took until now for the PS5 to feel that. It also sucks that they're feeling that now during the holiday period when you would expect would be the period where they would save everything to be able to fulfill the demand. And my big question is, will people still want this? Like, is just the high demand just this year because of it's a new machine, I like the PS4 but I want a new one? What happens like in a year from now? Like, is the demand satisfied, or do they satisfy their own demand with something else? That's kind of like why I wrote near the end, like, Xbox hasn't said anything, even though we know they are also being shortaged.
Which is interesting, that they haven't said anything about that yet.
Yeah, you can chuck it up to be like, yeah, maybe they're also going to suffer the same thing, but what if they were also astute and be like, no, we're going to, in the back line, like down in the background, we're just going to be building a bunch of these so that we can have by the holiday. Because Sony has just been, as soon as they make machines, they send them. They have just been trying, because that's how much demand there has been, that they've just been trying to satisfy it to no avail. And obviously not helped by the horrible experience that is trying to get one of these machines through a website. I, in September, helped one of my friends from here get a PS5 through the PSQ. I had to get into 10 of those, like for 2 weeks straight, until one finally hit. I tried doing that earlier this year, but that's when it was worse. I was like, F this. When I found the one that I got here that I told you, I was like, my time's too valuable. I'll pay the $140 markup, because this is making up for all the time that I spent waking up early trying to get into one of these and always failing. That you're just the demoralizing feeling of doing everything you think you can and you just can't get one of these. So I will recommend people, if you can, buy it sculpt. If you really want a machine and you haven't been able to get one, now that we know that they lowered their forecast because they can't produce this many. Now we know it's gonna get worse now for this next 3-4 months, quarter. So if you want a PS5, get it sculpt, or if not, just see if there's availability in Xbox. So
I would dare say, if you want a PS5, you clearly want to be gaming, and you might as well just find it somewhere else. Find what you want somewhere else, not a PS5. Just get a cheap PC, get a gaming laptop, get an Xbox. If you really want to game that badly, your time is worth more than getting a PS5 right now. And that's from the man who almost exclusively plays on his PS5 right now.
Yes, and here's what's funny.
I'm looking out for you.
Yes, and here's what's funny. I didn't put it here because this was also in the Bloomberg Japan report. Some Japanese developers, they say that because of these shortage of supply for the PS5, that's why they're switching to mainly developing on PC and then PS5 later, or kind of like trickling down, because they've been noticing a trend of people buying more PC versions. Is exactly for that, because they were like, many of these people maybe already have a PC that works, or they decided to build one that works, or a pre-built one, and because all games are coming to PC right now, obviously not some exclusives, they were like, no, they're buying it here. So because of the situation, we're just gonna mainly do this development. And we talked about Capcom a few weeks back. I think that's the company Bloomberg Japan was referencing, because they're the ones that were very public, were like, yeah, we're putting all our chips now into PC now. Like that's what we're focusing on. So,
and good for them, because you take the easiest path, the path with least resistance. If you're going to have all this problem with your hardware, go for the software route. At least sell some of your stuff, because nobody's going to be buying your software.
And that's the thing. You make money through software. That's fact. Like the console manufacturers.
Digitally.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah. So good luck for all of you that don't have a next-gen console. I'm thankful my 6 months suffering from earlier this year ended before this, because imagine if I had just waited, I'd be crying. Number
It's
2.
only gonna get worse.
Yeah, number 2. Remember Valve's Steam Deck, Paul?
I do remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that the portable PC hybrid competitor to the Nintendo Switch that was supposed to launch sometime in December 2021 has officially been delayed out of the year, citing
Chip shortages.
making them unable to ship the allocated units for their planned launch. The Steam Deck has been delayed for 2 months, and it's not releasing in the bloodbath that is
February 2022.
Talk about killing something in the crib. Why are you releasing in February?
I was one of those people that's very excited for the Steam Deck, if nothing else, in the sheer practicality of it. Because the one thing that PC still does not have is a portable, affordable option. If you get a laptop, that's more expensive than a PC. And I love the idea that people that create indie things, especially being a person that is commissioned by an indie developer studio, which is officially registered now as a business, called Swansoft. So if you can look them up, they exist now. Anyway, just the fact that, yeah, you can go ahead and look that up. Hopefully they actually exist and I'm not going to get called out. I just know the owner officially posted it on his Facebook and social medias. Anyway, yeah, so I was really excited about this. I really want people to get more games in their hands and make it easier, and this is going to also probably take a lot of business from Nintendo and hopefully get them to prick their ears up and pay attention to things going on around them for once. I'm kind of sad about this because you're absolutely right. It's going to strangle it in its crib unless it really kicks the door down. People are going to be out here buying all their games, and granted, I feel like there's one ray of sunshine, and that is that this is hardware and not software. So the people that are really wanting something new and are unable to find like either PS5s or anything else, even Nintendo saying that they were having shortages, they can get their hands on a Steam Deck. That might be the next step for all of this and the journalism surrounding it. But besides that, they're going to struggle.
If they had released this at least in January, maybe I could have seen a possibility kind of getting out before the big swath of releases, because everything is now in February and March. Yep. The few that were in January have been pushed forward or more backwards. So the Steam machines was their attempt at trying to do like a computer that was easier to understand, because obviously I went on that rant last week about how the problem with PC gaming for me is that it expects too much of the user to try to get it before you get like an optimal experience.
Conversation in our chat too.
Yes, and you had that experience with trying to play Forza Horizon 5 in your PC.
Yep.
In your PC, and you not understanding how to update drivers or something like that.
I do think there is an option specific to the problem I was having, by the way. Turns out there is a setting that is currently broken in the game that you have to turn off to make sure that doesn't happen on some people's machines.
Yeah. So the idea of the Steam Deck of just being a portable place for you to play your Steam library, which is one of the most extensive libraries of all time because of the PC nature of things.
If not the...
Yeah, it is even like it way dwarfs what's on PlayStation and Xbox. Way dwarfs, because they did the whole full digital library that stayed with them forever, way before these consoles did it. So I was excited for that. In December, when originally it was announced for December, I was like, that's pushing it, because it's like, that's crazy. I want to get it out on December. Obviously, there was the holiday period to think about, but in February, I will be awaiting NPD sales for this thing. I bet it's going to be a bloodbath. Number 3, Jeff Keighley, our favorite, has given some details as to what to expect for the 2021 edition of the Game Awards, airing on December 9th. Editor's note, a day after Halo Infinite officially launches, quote unquote. Some of the details include a lot of 2022 and 2023 content to be showcased, a number of new game reveals in the double digits, 40 to 50 games are going to be at the show in some capacity, teases to expect some really cool next-gen stuff, and there will be a live orchestra on stage. Paul, we have seen Summer Game Fest, We saw Opening
Yes.
Night Live,
Yep.
and now Game Awards. Summer Game Fest and Opening Night Live for Gamescom. Way better events than many of the conferences that we got at E3.
Yes.
Like, bar
Absolutely.
none. And this is basically Christmas E3. He's made sure the Game Awards, which it has an award element to it, but the people don't care about that. They care about the reveals. He was gonna have like 40 to 50 games in here, and in double digits, at least announce like 20 completely new stuff, and maybe give updates on other stuff. That makes watching that show worth it, because everyone shows up there. Let's not forget, the Xbox Series X was revealed at the Game Awards in 2019.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, it completely unorthodox.
You're absolutely right, and everyone started the memes about it being a mini fridge.
Mhm.
But hey, here it is, and they're crushing it. Our patron Saint Jeff Keighley is feasting us. My goodness, like if they had even 2 of these 5 things that you listed, I would say this is going to be a good showcase to have. But the fact that he's got all of this new stuff, new things, double digits, 40 to 50 games that we already know, teases on next gen stuff, orchestra. I mean, they gotta have some kind of weird live music at some point. But I mean, granted, the last time he did it with the chick with the violin, that was pretty dope. So it can be good. I'm excited for it. I'm very excited for this dude. He doesn't miss. He constantly does really awesome stuff. Reveals that nobody else has access to. I don't know how he does it. He's clearly got some kind of weird monkey's paw situation, deal with the devil, genie wish that he made to get perfect on all of this stuff. But honestly, there's not too much more to say about it. I'm just super excited.
And also credit to him, because let's not forget, he started the Summer Game Fest last year when E3 kind of went under.
Right.
And obviously his first attempt at the Summer Game Fest, because it came out of nowhere, is him trying to pick up the baton after E3 kind of just went away that year. I've talked many times how that Summer Game Fest was not good because there was no consistency of reveals and all that. And look how much he improved just a year later to make it basically like Opening Night Live, he had done before, and he's been doing Game Awards. So he has a good knack at improving himself over and over.
Even that, for somebody that had such a small amount of prep time to be able to pull up such a huge show in the first place, I mean, the consistency might be all over the place, but when you're somebody who is like a veteran that is just thrown into this, like, okay, well, clearly there's a need for this thing that's just disappeared off the face of the earth. I'm going to throw it all together in a few months and then just see what happens, because people deserve to have this information. And I'm just glad that he did it. This dude just keeps doing amazing things, and I can't wait to see what he's gonna reveal next.
Yeah, to consider the disaster that was E3 this year, just leave all showcases to him. He knows what's up. He knows how to pack a bunch of games into a hype format. You don't walk out of one of these shows and be like, why was this even a show? Remember like how I felt about the Ubisoft E3 you didn't watch.
Our favorite episode.
The Trebuchet episode. Square Enix E3. That forever gave me the one thing that I've been trolling you all year. Forever. Like, I know he could do some memey stuff in a way, but like his whole thing with Elden Ring, that he was finally free because everyone kept asking him about Elden Ring.
That was fun.
One thing, but it's different compared to like the thing that was Square Enix this E3. So I'm excited for Game Awards. When does this? Usually the Game Awards are on Thursday, so I will have to check the calendar. When does it land? And I think weirdly enough, Halo Infinite launches on a Wednesday. Weird. Well, quote unquote. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Number 4. You know something's up with Call of Duty Vanguard sales figures, because Activision hasn't come out screaming to the heavens how much the game has sold compared to previous years where they were usually quick to point it out. And based on some UK figures we just got, we can see why. According to analyst Benji Sales on Twitter, using a report from GameIndustry.biz, Call of Duty Vanguard sales declined a massive 40% compared to last year's Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, with physical sales down 26% and digital sales down a whopping 44% year on year. Keep in mind, I mentioned that because digital sales have been trending upwards more than physical over the last 2 years. Benji Sales knows that while this is just in the UK, other markets are also trending downward. Whether this decline has anything to do about the World War II setting, the ongoing Activision Blizzard lawsuit scandal, or just the general antipathy towards Call of Duty games made by Sledgehammer compared to the Treyarch and Infinity Ward ones, or Warzone completely siphoning players from going for the full release, remains to be seen. Shocker? Not really. I kind of want to blame it on number 2, the ongoing the Activision Blizzard lawsuit scandal. I want it to be like, that is actually making an impact.
I would like to hope, but the average person that buys Call of Duty probably doesn't even know it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is going to be more on the line with a couple of those things you said, with the return to the World War II setting, the fact that it's not really anything new, quote unquote, and just it's nothing crazy. It's like middle of the road, like you said. It's like you played the first mission or so, and
I'm on mission 3 now. And to answer the question from when you asked me about like the alternate history thing, doesn't feel like that. It just feels like at the kind of fictitious take of historical World War II. Maybe some things that happened after 1945 that they keep alluding to is the alternate history thing, but other than that, it just feels like a pretty World War II shooter that we have gotten many times before. And to be fair, we had not had a World War II shooter until like 2017's World War II, and that one was done because Activision sent surveys asking, would you be fine if we return to World War II? And everyone said yes. And then obviously a lot of people bought World War II, but that game quickly fell off the map because people realized maybe we didn't really know what we wanted. And maybe this is now answering that question. People thought they wanted World War II back in 2017 until they didn't, because then when World War II came back to Battlefield a year later, that game relatively bombed relatively to the series. So obviously a World War II setting, it's not going to be exciting for people anymore. People probably want modern stuff. Look how big Modern Warfare was. And I bet you next year's Infinity Ward Call of Duty, that's actually going to be called Modern Warfare 2 for all intents and purposes. Repeating history again. That one's going to be a big seller because modern stuff is what moves the needle. I feel bad for Sledgehammer because they are the ones that made the best of the futuristic Call of Duties. And it sucks that they've been putting World War II duty right now. But not shocker, but now it makes me wonder. I wonder how they spin it. I wonder if Call of Duty is actually going to be the best-selling game this year. Maybe it will. Who knows? It just that it trending 40% downward from the previous year. It's not good. Number 5.
Nothing.
You got nothing. Yeah.
I let them suffer for a minute. I will say, if Sledgehammer really wanted to do something cool and futuristic again, they could have gone the Wolfenstein route if they really wanted to. Go the alternate history, like really push it there. At this point, alternate history is a trigger word that they use just to justify attachments and fancy cosmetics. And with that, I would say that there's nothing else that I feel about it. I haven't heard anything about it. None of my people that I follow on YouTube have been posting about it.
People literally have been like, wait, I forgot Call of Duty came out. And here's what's weird. It's like the two warriors, Battlefield and Call of Duty, not so hot. It's strange. Like there's barely any chatter of Call of Duty, but the chatter that's around Battlefield 2042 that went out on like early quote unquote early access, but not really. Just like for people that really
super special boy packages.
Exactly. It's not too hot, but it also makes me understand why the other competitor may be doing the moves that apparently they'll be making that we're gonna talk about a little later. But it's so funny, the two mainstays not doing hot in any metric. So number 5 is Far Cry, the next series that Ubisoft is going to prostitute into a live service. It appears so. Despite Far Cry 6 having just released a month ago, literally a month ago, word is already getting out about Ubisoft's plans for their next entry in their open world first-person shooter series. According to Video Games Chronicle, Dan Hay, who has overseen every Far Cry game from 3 onward, is leaving the company amidst reports that Ubisoft wants their next entry to be a live service, like what they're currently doing with Assassin's Creed Infinity. Whether Hay is leaving the company on his own accord, Ubisoft claims he's pursuing a new chapter in his professional career, or out of creative differences over the direction the franchise is taking next, remains to be seen. Ubisoft.
They just keep doing this to us.
Yes, all the time, every week, every
Every
freaking week. We keep getting something to hate this stupid company. And more.
They break us every week. They don't miss.
No. Here's the worst part. You know, yesterday was the 13th anniversary of Assassin's Creed,
Yeah.
and I feel nothing because of knowing where the series is going. Like,
Did you list that one thing that you mentioned about the writer?
yeah, I didn't
Okay.
put it here, but a writer that had left came back. He has written some of the best entries I read. That still doesn't excite me about the whole them pursuing this live service direction. That it's all these games are basically live service. Why are you doubling down? Man,
It's already getting worse because of the way it is. I mean, I almost feel nothing with Far Cry, and I just put out the official word to ask for it for Christmas because I don't want to spend money on it, even if it goes on sale. And it's like some of the people that I like following play it and are enjoying it, but it's also like, all right, it's another Far Cry, and that's it.
That's all I keep
All right,
hearing.
let's go back to play something else.
Exactly. It's like,
But
what
yeah,
could
you
they
go
do?
ahead.
Yeah, what could they do for a Far Cry game to make it like a live service? Like, I don't know. Like, with Assassin's Creed, we talked about like maybe their whole idea with Unity. Like, at least some of the kernel of an idea of Unity is what they're trying to fully make this time. That's why they're taking the time with it. But basically, live services, you're constantly doing content over time. They are already doing that.
Yeah.
But when you say you want to do that, you want to make it like something close to a looter that's always online and there's multiplayer, blah blah blah. I mentioned there's barely when you do a live service, you're basically asking everyone to treat your game like a full-time job. I mentioned that before, and I tell you, this live service model is going to collapse, and I can't wait.
I think
for
it's
all this-
already collapsing, and it's just tone-deaf companies that put the wish in at the start of all this, and it's been a couple of years, and the bubble is popped.
Mhm.
And all these companies that are trying to, it's just not
They're
working.
going through the
Look
hole
at
that popped.
Godfall, look at, well, I was gonna say Outriders, but that wasn't a live service.
Yeah,
But
even though
yeah,
it tried to be
clarify.
treated like one, but that's a funny thing.
Godfall was a live service, though.
Yes, it was.
That sucker crashed and burned.
Oh yeah, no one talks about it.
It's one of those things that happens constantly with Ubisoft nowadays. They see something that they thought was working, but their product model is so slow that it's not actually getting anywhere before the industry changes.
Mhm.
And then this whole thing with Dan Hay, and they're like, oh yeah, we swear he's totally going off on a new chapter in his professional career, and this dude was probably like, screw y'all, I'm getting out of here, tell him whatever you want. And they're just controlling the culture right now in their place, and nobody's going to succeed until they change that.
Yeah, and especially how quickly this news came out. The game just literally came out. So that's when you know some things are on fire there. Man, like,
Yeah.
I tell you, like, I keep saying that probably the worst company is still Activision, just on the strength of the lawsuit itself. But creatively speaking, man, Ubisoft is already tied right down there.
They're just creatively bankrupt, while
Absolutely.
Activision is morally bankrupt.
Yeah, exactly. We had both. And then EA is just, obviously they have what I feared would happen. They would have their big stumble near the end. But
EA
even that
is
stumble,
hiding right now. They're like, please don't notice me. Please
Exactly.
don't notice me.
they totally are. But yeah, they have they apparently have a creative miss with Battlefield 2042 for all intents and purposes now, from everything that I've been reading and seeing. But because they've had quite a good year overall, it's like, yeah, they're stumbling near the finish line, but just look how bad the other two are. Absolute trash with the other two, man. I mentioned it in our chat. It's like, it's crazy how even last year, even as their Me Too movement started ravaging them, I still had a modicum of excitement for Valhalla, for Watch Dogs Legion, and Immortals Feudings Rising, which I stand by, was the great game from those three. From there to what has happened a year later, it's insane how much they have pissed off literally everything.
Enough to knock my lamp over.
Yes. They pissed off all their goodwill now. They announced 2 or 3 weeks ago that they're bringing back Splinter Cell, and that's still not a win for me. And I bet you they're gonna make it a live service because that's all they want to do. They just don't want to release games anymore. They just want to release one thing they keep updating over time. They're getting lazy. Fucking lazy. Number 6, Unity, the company best known for its line of popular video game engines. If you've heard of many like games or indies or even just big AAA games that have used Unity, it's like a very common engine. Yeah. Announced their plans for a massive acquisition earlier this week. According to website Ars Technica, the company announced their plans to purchase the tech division of WETA Digital, the Peter Jackson visual effects company based in New Zealand, for $1.625 billion in cash and stock. What this means is WETA's suite of visual effects tools, which have been used in popular movies like Lord of the Rings, which is going to be 20 years old in a few weeks, Avatar, and Wonder Woman, will eventually all be integrated into Unity's cloud-based workflow and made available to millions of users that use Unity. And part of the tech division acquisition includes the 275 engineers that build WETA's technology and a library of thousands of incredible assets. However, if you're worried how this would affect WETA's work on movies, it was announced that WETA Workshop, which focuses on practical effects and props, will remain a separate entity, with the movie special effects side known as WETA FX still remaining in play and majorly owned by Peter Jackson. Unity has just become, just with this, skyrocketed itself as one of the best engines developers can use, because Unity is already so easy and so versatile that the people that made Ori, the people that made Cuphead, and the people that made Gone Home and many other games use the same engine and you wouldn't even know. Sometimes
personal.
Yeah, like Unreal Engine, you know when a game's on Unreal. It has like a specific look to it. Unity's like more the versatility of Unity. It's such that you wouldn't know some games are built on it. And if you have WETA, that is some of the best looking special effects tools you can see in some movies. Just see like look how good the Lord of the Rings movies look still to this day.
Aging
because of
like
WETA. Yes.
I'm going to briefly step outside of our usual thing, since this also touches on movies slightly. I am a little concerned about the idea of WETA being controlled by Peter Jackson on the WETA FX side, because Peter Jackson is notoriously famous for saying that he wishes he could go back to the original Lord of the Rings movies and make them more CG. He is convinced that CG is the future still, and loves that he can just put whatever he wants in behind a blue screen. Unfortunately, that's not how that works, and that's a terrible practice to have. Peter Jackson, be ashamed of yourself.
He's going the George Lucas route.
He is, and he has said that he wishes he could do all that stuff, and he doesn't fully understand why people... I mean, I might be stretching a little bit. He doesn't understand why people didn't like the Hobbit trilogy as much, but it's like, it's so clear, like exactly what you should do in those situations, and he's still focused on that whole season.
It's night and day, watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy and watching the Hobbit.
It is. I'm not even going to let my children watch the Hobbit until later when they find out about it, and I'm like, all right, you can maybe watch this, but like once in my house, and then you gotta go somewhere else. And it's a shame because all of the performances are fantastic. It's just the fact that they had to like add so much studio stuff. I watch a guy that reviews big like fantasy things. That's like his thing. He's like a fantasy book and movie person, and he was talking about how lightning in a bottle it was for that whole trilogy, how just the casting, the perfect on everything. Apparently Aragorn was originally somebody else.
They had to recast that real quick, and
I just found that out recently.
And just think about that, and also having had the budget and the belief of all those movies to be filmed back to back like they were, because look what was happening with Dune, that Lord of the Rings, like the cost of making movies has risen so exponentially that ideally Dune would have had back-to-back filming. But now people now need to see if things are going to be making money, because the stupid obsession of trying to make the billion-dollar sellers that I've been mentioning. That I'm glad COVID has reset expectations, and people think kind of almost reaching 500 million or 300, from the 300 to 600 million total. It's now seen as a success to keep pursuing, instead of, oh, this didn't make billions, screw everything. And yeah, Lord of the Rings, but done in a relative shoestring budget compared to what movies cost these days, how good those movies look still to this day, and the opportunity that Peter Jackson was allowed to film all three back to back.
Yes.
And then on top of that, being successful. They were some of the most successful movies of all time, and they're not billion sellers. They were still very successful, highly acclaimed. In the nerd culture that sometimes ranks Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Marvel, DC, and all that, it's very common for you to see Lord of the Rings, just Lord of the Rings, not Hobbit, considered like the top tier series. Like, it's a...
Even as a Star Wars fan, I'll be like, Lord of the Rings held up way better.
Oh yes, exactly, especially on the main film thing. But yeah, we the thing is that WETA is used for so many movies. As you can see, Avatar and Wonder Woman use it, and you can find a list of a lot of them that use it. I'm glad Unity buying the kind of like the technical side to add it to the tools. It's not going to preclude WETA from doing its work. This is just an added benefit for people to pursue Unity, because that's going to be so cool.
All right, here's what we use to make this. Now you have that opportunity. Because, I mean, if you look at the stuff that WETA was able to do, water simulations, earlier and better than most to this day.
Lighting,
not the miniatures, but the stuff around the miniatures to like get that scale, that diffusion of light, like you said, along with surface particles. It's just great, and I'm so glad that other companies are going to have access to these tools, because, as you know, a tool is a tool and can be used in so many ways, and the fact that we are going to get so many new tools is only going to be a good thing for the game.
Think about it this way, like, especially with me finding out that Ori and the Blind Forest and Will of the Wisp was done in Unity.
Yeah.
Some of the artistry in those Ori games has that kind of Lord of the Rings majesty to it, in like that artistic coloring, that artistic punch, and that was done without WETA. What will the Ori people do now that their tool set has WETA tools now? Just think about that. Oh man, that's very exciting. It's just sometimes I get scared about acquisitions and all that, because we talk about the monopolization of industries and all of that, especially when one big one has been like gobbling so many. This one is a little different because of the accessibility of Unity as a tool. In fact, I'm glad that now this puts Unity in more contention than people just trying to go for the Unreal Engine. Because
something on the business side of it, did you know that Unity has its own stock?
Mm-hmm.
They're a publicly traded company. Even my dad knows about it. So the fact that Unity is as big as they were and now acquiring WETA is...
And they use their own stock and their cash to buy this.
How many days ago was this, by the way?
This was earlier this week. 4 to 5 days ago. You can look it up. Maybe see the financials. Or if...
I am curious. I'm wondering what that would be. But that would be too much effort for me right now.
Yes. Number 7 is the next official mainline 3D Sonic game and open world game. A registered trademark by Sega for the name Sonic Frontiers seems to confirm so. Earlier this year, on the 30th anniversary of Sonic Stream, Sega revealed this new mainline Sonic game as being planned for release in 2022, and it was said to be Sonic's biggest adventure yet, where Sonic was shown in a CG trailer running through massive open landscapes. The name Sonic Frontiers would suggest that this is the name of that unnamed game. Open world Sonic game, Paul. The 3D Sonic is one of the constant trash fires in the gaming industry. They're always a meme. The Sonic cycle is true all the time. A Sonic game gets announced, fans get hyped up, reviews in the game come out, they are a meme, and everyone screams calamity, and the cycle begins anew. I would be interested to see what a Sonic open world game would be like, because that's something they haven't done. Surprisingly, they haven't done. Obviously, in this era where open worlds are everywhere, of course it was going to happen sometime to them. But what do you think of that?
I have almost zero horse in the race of Sonic.
Mhm.
I'm almost glad that I don't, that I completely missed out on that PlayStation, GameCube, Wii era, all of that,
Mhm.
and because of all the craziness that goes down. This has me skeptically optimistic
Mhm.
because, frankly, it seems kind of nice having an open world game where you can have Sonic do like really fast running, a lot of great movement. Think of it like your Forza Motorsport and
Mhm.
Forza Horizon. You can make it work in a very tight environment, and you got this very specific focused goal, and then you have something open world that really lets you let loose on a good road, that lets you go freaking nuts. Which, by the way, everyone, I got to finally play Forza Horizon 5, so that's
Mhm.
why I'm
I
thinking
mentioned.
about that.
Mhm.
And this would work really well, I think, for a 3D Sonic game. If you just let him run around the world, if it's a good world, if the mechanics are great, you have a good physics system, that's important.
Mhm.
People will have a ton of fun with it, I think. And yeah.
This would be like, this could be a good refresh point for Sonic, because 3D Sonic games have all been very samey, equally problematic. There were some high points like Sonic Generations that mixed 2D and 3D Sonic in a good way, and then they completely shit the bed on Sonic Forces, the literal follow-up. So I can't wait to see this, and also because I can't wait for our good old friend PJ have to go through his Sonic cycle again. Because,
He will. I'm
yeah,
sure.
yeah, it's a poor man.
I want to add one thing. I was able to pull up the financials for Unity,
Mhm.
and I don't know if you can read it. Oh, of course you can.
Yeah. No, we can't.
Anyway, okay, fine. Well, basically, there's like a nice little wibble wobble, and then like
In the stock.
last week, so it shot up from about 130, 140 ish to 196 currently.
I tell you, weed is a big deal. Them is that
Massive,
massive
especially
deal.
for the financial dudes, because they might not know the name WETA, but you say the people that made Lord of the Rings, all those tools are now available in a video game software that's makes engines open source practically for everybody. People are like, whoa, that sounds really interesting. Trying to use my weird business American voice. It's
The C-suite.
it's crazy. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there, that it absolutely had an effect, and a very good one to boot. So I kind of wish I owned stock in that one now. But yeah,
Yeah, too late for that one.
too late. Missed that one.
Number 8. Have you wondered why we haven't heard anything about the next 3D Mario? Well,
Nintendo sucks.
yeah. Well,
Anyway.
according to Shigeru Miyamoto during the recent financial call QA via Video Games Chronicle, the plan is for the next Mario game to further expand what the series is capable of, citing that the success of Super Mario Odyssey and the way it appealed to both casual players and longtime fans is the balance they want to pursue with the next big mainline entry. No word on what the new entry will be officially announced or when will it be coming out. Usually 3D Marios are a once-in-a-generation game for Nintendo, with the Wii being the only one that received 2 in the form of Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. Despite only having one official 3D Mario release, the Switch has been home to the vast majority of 3D Mario games, with the limited release of the Super Mario 3D All-Stars Collection, which went off sale on March 31st this year, and this year's re-release of Super Mario 3D World and its experimental Bowser Fury add-on. Depending on how much longer the shelf life of the Nintendo Switch will be, don't be surprised if we do get another mainline 3D Mario on this console handheld hybrid. What were your thoughts on Odyssey, Paul? Like, I don't think I've ever heard them. I think I've heard them kind of like tangentially, but
yeah, we kind of
never fully
touched on it. So I'm a very casual fan of Mario. I'm not a huge platformer person in general, and Mario's kind of like the extent of it for the most part. I really enjoyed Odyssey when it came out. I remember being just mesmerized by the fun that I could have, the small child in me that came out, the music freaking bombing at it, just banger after banger. and that final, I know you were talking about the whole ending of Metroid Dread being
Uh-huh.
like really awesome with that.
Mario
Odyssey
Odyssey's also
had
awesome.
that hype last level. I didn't expect anything that happened and all that, and I was honestly really impressed and interested in like the plot itself. And it wasn't until after that I was like, why was I expecting anything like big out of a Mario game in the plot department? But it was just so fun, the whole route. And then it wasn't until later on that I was like,
Yeah, it's like like when the high, like your high of playing the game, kind of like when you started looking back at it. I always keep saying that Mario Odyssey is the one game when I think about it, I think of it in a lesser regard than my all-time favorites, which is either the Galaxy games or even Sunshine. And to a certain extent Mario 64, because that was such a formative experience for me when I was 3 years old. I played that game with a launch N64, so I remember seeing 3D graphics for the first time in my life. So, but when you
like when I play it, it's great. I still think it holds up pretty well to me if I'm thinking back on it, because I didn't play a whole lot of them. I never actually finished Galaxy, famously. I don't know why. I got stuck on the spring level one day, and then I was just like, I'll come back to this, and then I never did. I did finish Sunshine, thank God, and I did finish 64. A friend of mine who was my roommate taught me how to play speed run the game, and me and all of our household of like 4 guys each did a competition.
That's
Mine was
awesome.
about 2 hours. I beat it because he taught us all of like world record level speed running things, and on our calendar it used to be his time, which was 21 minutes. That was his fastest. But anyway, that was just like a fun experience. But Odyssey was like, it was everything that I was really hoping for, and I would still say it holds up in my head. Like sometimes I think back, like
it's my third favorite game on Switch, I would say. Like that's Odyssey was the reason why I wanted a Switch, even more than Breath of the Wild, because I prefer Mario than Zelda personally, because I kind of, like I told you, like growing up, that was the series I could play, because Zelda games, it took me a while before I understood their language and understand how cool they were. So Mario was like more for me, and it's such a significant part of my family. We all enjoy Mario so much. Like Mario is always like an event for us. This last one not so much, because my parents are not as in tune of games like they used to be, like when we were back in the, I'll never forget, like always watching my dad playing Super Mario Sunshine, like all of us playing together. Galaxy was why I wanted a Wii, and because I just know that this is just a point of joy for our entire family. And even though Odyssey is probably my 4th favorite, like in the pantheon of the Mario games, it's still a great one, and I wouldn't mind seeing another one. I know that the Switch definitely has a long shelf life ahead of it, so I wouldn't, especially we're getting Breath of the Wild too. That's what's crazy. We're getting 2 of those kind of big ass Zelda games in the Switch. We might as well also get another 3D Mario game, despite we already got a collection of a bunch of them now. So
the realization that there's only been one Mario per game system blew my mind just now, because it connected, and I thought back and went, wait, no, that's not right. There's gotta, wait a minute.
Think about it this way. Yeah, think about it this way. There's always been like 2 Zelda games. Like the Super Nintendo only had one with Link to the Past. Game Boy then had like a Link's Awakening, but N64 had Ocarina and Majora's Mask. GameCube had Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. The Wii also got its Twilight. Nothing. Well, no, Wii U only had one. That was, well, actually, it got 2.
The hunting game? No.
The Wii got the hunting game and also got Twilight Princess and also Skyward Sword. Wii U got the re-releases of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. And you can add that was the only system that got a 3rd one in technicality, because
Hyrule Warriors.
That's not a Zelda game. That's not a real Zelda game. Like the traditional.
But you're gonna count the hunting game for the?
I didn't count it. I didn't count it.
I thought you listed that.
I said in the Wii was it had Twilight Princess and it had Skyward Sword, and technically the Wii only had one native Wii game in the Zelda series, and that was Skyward Sword, because Twilight Princess was a port.
Right, that's true.
That they decided to prioritize over the GameCube version. Literally, the GameCube version came out
like 40 million spin-offs.
Spirit Tracks, the train,
no, that was the train. They had
Phantom
the boat
Hourglass.
one,
Phantom
Phantom
Hourglass.
Hourglass. Didn't that have a sequel?
Yeah, the Spirit Tracks.
Oh yeah. I
Started
guess
with
that's
Phantom
true.
Hourglass and then Spirit Tracks.
And then any of like the what was it, the Four Swords? Did they remake that?
There's
Or,
the
like,
Four
they
Swords
ported it?
Adventures on GameCube. There's the Four Swords on GBA. That's like a multiplayer
remember
from
that
Link to
one.
the Past. So yeah, it's like it's kind of crazy. Zelda has had even more entries than 3D Mario, if you really think about that. Despite Mario being the biggest seller, but that's the thing. The one Mario game can outsell a bunch of Zelda games also. So this is.
True.
I want another Mario. I loved playing 3D World, even though that was like a definitive edition. I'll take my Marios as I take them. I don't care. Hopefully we get to see another one. There's rumors that the team that made Mario Odyssey is working on a Donkey Kong game. So let's see. The Switch still has a lot of life ahead of it because it's selling like hotcakes still. Even though
Speaking
they put
of
it.
rumors,
Yeah. A new rumor is suggesting, that's number 9, that Halo Infinite may be planning on releasing their free-to-play multiplayer suite earlier than expected. According to various leaks found through many Twitter accounts that were then corroborated by Forbes, Paul Tassi, and The Verge's Tom Warren, they're noting how there's some files in the back end that suggest the game may surprise launch on November 15, 2021, which coincidentally is the Xbox stream they're doing tomorrow that you won't be able to see because you're traveling.
right?
That's in commemoration of the 20th anniversary of both the original Xbox and in turn the 20th anniversary of Halo Combat Evolved. Previously, Microsoft President Phil Spencer had mentioned that at one point they were considering just releasing the multiplayer pack back in 2020 at the time the campaign wasn't looking too hot, and decided against it to try to launch Halo Infinite as a full product. Considering it was announced earlier this year that 2 Halo mainstay components, Co-op and Forge, were being delayed into 2022, and the multiplayer tactics was so relatively polished and seemingly ready for primetime, and people claiming it could release as is, you can see why Microsoft would rather walk back their statement of a full game release and have something hot to coincide with such an important milestone for the company. The full release is still scheduled for December 8th, 2021. First they say they're not going to do this, they're going to release the entire thing together, and now they're like, you know what? People really loved our multiplayer tech test. There was nothing but praise for an entire month of everyone that played that tech test, including me. I mentioned it in the show.
It looked great.
Yes, so it's like if everyone's saying this feels ready, and it's ready, and you have the November 15th, that's when your console launched originally 20 years ago, and this
That's
game,
a big deal.
so it's like if you have it ready, yes, take the PR hit of saying you said you were not gonna do it, but in turn you're giving people something fun to
And it's
take,
free.
and it's free, exactly. So
Like, there's nothing that they're actually really lying about. They're like, if they were saying like, oh yeah, it's free and it's gonna come out on December 8th, but then they're like, all right, it's gonna be November 15th and $30.
yeah, that would be scummy.
yeah.
That would be
But
scummy. But
if
if it
they're
releases
like,
free,
all right, we love y'all, like, thank you for doing all this 20-year anniversary stuff, all this came out whatever long ago, big rousing orchestral moment, and we're gonna drop the multiplayer for it now, everyone's gonna go freaking nuts.
and I heard that apparently some rumors have been added since I wrote this, and as I was waiting for you, that apparently
Really?
also something that's gonna be added tomorrow is a campaign demo.
That would be good.
Yeah, that would be good synergy. They give people a little taste,
Yeah,
and then they can play the full thing when it launches on December 8th. So, and here's also something funny. Did Microsoft just see how underwhelming Vanguard and 2042's reception has been, that they're like, you know what, we got this.
they're getting gutsy. Honestly, if I were them and the multiplayer was as solid as it is, and then all of a sudden you hear that your 2 biggest competitors for that year are
Fumbling.
stumbling, I would jump on that and be like, yo,
And you're
get
free.
Game Pass, you got it. You got it.
Not only that, the multiplayer is free.
Yeah.
You don't even
Wait,
need Game Pass.
you don't even name Game Pass. You're right.
Only the campaign is Game Pass.
Wait, so it's free on Game Pass for the campaign?
Yeah.
Ooh.
But the multiplayer is free without Game Pass. It's as free as Fortnite and Warzone.
So, if you'll let me go into the business side of things, how do you think they're going to monetize it? Is it going to be all cosmetics and
Battle passes.
just stuff like that?
They're doing a battle pass system, and they're also taking the Marvel's Avengers style of battle pass. That is battle passes that don't expire. You can make progress for because no more FOMO. They're not weaponizing FOMO.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things that Avengers doesn't get enough credit for, that the battle passes that you get for your characters in that game, that's where you get most of these cosmetics on top of the skins that you can buy individually, which are really cool, is that there is no time limit for you to finish the battle, unlike Destiny or Fortnite.
Unlike
everything that does a battle pass is like, no, you have to finish this now by this time. If not, you lost it. So they're doing that, and obviously it's gonna get more recognition because Halo is a more respected game than Avengers. So they're doing all the good moves. Campaign, it's still wait and see. I still stand that the campaign preview that we saw looked fun. Sad about the lack of biodiversity.
If it's free on Game Pass, I'm gonna
play Yeah, I'm gonna play it on PC. I can't wait.
I'm excited because I honestly was ready to like drop money on it because I think I misunderstood when you told me about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy.
Well, remember, every exclusive that Microsoft ever releases from here on out, it's always going to be on Game Pass. Always. They might charge you $45 to play it 5 days early while you still own Game Pass.
Which is crazy, but
yeah, but some people paid it.
God.
Forza Horizon saw a lot of money because of that. Yeah.
That was me for Battlefield all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I spent like $20 extra to get 3 days on Battlefront 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that was before the microtransactions were turned off, because they turned it off before the full release on that Friday.
I had a problem, guys.
Yes.
I had a big problem.
So they like weaponizing people. The idea of like, there's this game, but if you pay us extra, you can play it now. Microsoft will start doing that because I keep saying there's no way they're making money out of Game Pass. So if they can basically turn the $99 version that gives you early access into $45 3-day early Game Pass access that you can always keep having as long as you keep paying for Game Pass. It's like you paying for the early access Disney Plus Premier thing that you still need to play your $7 membership. But if you want to watch something earlier, you have to pay the one-time payment, $30 to watch Black Widow early. They're basically doing that, and some people are gonna eat it. They don't care. They really don't care as long as they can watch it or play something early. So I tell you, it's like, this is an interesting holiday because for the first time in forever, Frozen reference. Forever. Microsoft literally has a holiday all for themselves. I told you that Call of Duty has always been like, Sony has retreated from the fall to kind of just be with Call of Duty. How are they feeling right now that Call of Duty is massively underperforming compared to other times?
I mean, when you have something that you have to face in Microsoft owning Halo and back in the day Gears of War, that was like, oh my gosh, just like make a deal with anybody, make it happen. So they had like your Destiny and your thing you just mentioned with Call of Duty. And it's not enough. And
don't forget, Microsoft used to own the Call of Duty exclusivity. They were aligned with them. Then they saw the sales, the Call of Duty people saw the sales kind of moving the other direction, and then they ditched the girl and went for the other girl. So it's they have everything right now. Microsoft literally has everything served up in their plate for a successful holiday.
They're killing it right now.
They took their L last year, and they took their L. They took their L last year, an L that could have killed anyone else. If I'm perfectly honest, how do you launch your system without a game? But they have taken all this entire year to really drive home the importance of Game Pass. That now that the games are finally here and gonna start finally releasing, Forza Horizon 5, a Game of the Year contender, has a bunch of 10 out of 10s from many outlets, and it's universally loved by the people that are playing it. You know how usually there's the people that are like, that's not a 10, this sucks. I'm not seeing that there's gonna be corners that, because they're hipsters, they're gonna say it just because. But the amount of like excitement that's emanating from Forza Horizon 5, not seen before in the previous Forza Horizon games, and you driving the goodwill that was the multiplayer of this Halo. If they manage to nail that campaign, there's a preview at IGN. They played the first 4 hours, and it sounds promising. It seems that it's not as open world as you think.
Really?
Yeah. It seems like it's taking a Rise of the Tomb Raider / Gears of War 5 approach to the open world. You have your linear sections.
That's more what I was hoping, honestly.
I would expect
that.
If they go
way too much, then I'm like, guys, you're going too far with it, because then you start losing the detail, the other focus on those things. I think I listened to somebody who played it early, and they said it was much more the side of a curated open world where like the specific landscape. It's not like, hey, we're gonna put like the biggest world ever and you get to drive your warthog through all of it. It's
it seems like it's hitting that middle, that kind of middle spot, that if you go one way or another, it's either not an open world or a full one. They're trying to hit that middle point,
which I'm appreciating more, because then you get to do things like this and what we're going to see in Elden Ring, where you have like areas where it gets linear because you go into like a tunnel system or a facility, and then you get to create all that stuff. Heck,
you know what
Resident
game
Evil is
you know
stuff.
you know what a game also recently did that for you? Kena Bridge of Spirits.
I was just thinking about that one. Exactly. How we loved that game so much, and neither of us ever finished it.
Yes, because we were savoring it. And I tell you, because I mentioned this to you and Chad, I haven't mentioned this, I just got a 4K TV, finally. A 65-inch 4K HDR enabled LG thin QA, like AQ or something. I watched Kena with HDR on in 4K.
Really?
Unbelievable. That part when you go in an area where it's like all fire and it's dark. Oh my god. It's, I just savoring that game as much as humanly possible.
Same.
But Halo. So here's the thing. This episode is going live after literally the stream that they're gonna have. It's gonna happen. So at this moment, I am going to probably insert something that I'm gonna record myself, just reacting to some of the stuff from that thing.
And know that I am there in spirit. I will probably be trying to watch it or listen to it while I'm driving, because I want to know what happens.
Yeah, so I'm inserting that right now. And as promised, I am cutting in here where we said we were going to cut in our episode to confirm the news section that Halo Infinite is indeed launching today for the anniversary of both the Xbox and Halo Combat Evolved. So the rumors panned out. Just the multiplayer suite, the free-to-player multiplayer suite, is going to go live today. And the campaign is still going out all the way until December 8th, 2021. So if you're still waiting for the campaign, you still got to wait a few more weeks. But if you're a big Halo multiplayer fan, you can go and play that today. Apparently it's like 25 gigs. So not too big. And there's my dog already there. So yeah, cutting back in. So on with the show. And we're back from reinserting whatever that was. Hopefully, it's the thing I hope it is.
I hope it's good.
Yeah, I hope it is. Number 10, remaining on the Halo Infinite conversation, even though this is not a Halo news, IGN announced that a Halo Infinite multiplayer senior designer, Patrick Rand, has left 343 Industries and joined EA's own Respawn Entertainment to work on a Star Wars game. Announcing his new role on Twitter, Rand announced he's part of the Jedi team as the senior encounter designer, which confirms he's part of the team that's hard at work on the Jedi Fallen Order sequel at EA. It's also a fun coming full circle moment for Rand, who previously worked on the Star Wars First Assault multiplayer game over at LucasArts back in 2011-2012, which was canceled and never saw the light of day.
So I'm a little sad that Halo's losing this guy, obviously, but I am so happy that this dude is coming over to Jedi Fallen Order in its sequel, because they need all the extra bells and whistles that they can get for this, because as you and I have talked,
we love that
Jedi
game.
Fallen Order, great source, great just core. And some of the things around it need like fat trimming. Mm-hmm. It's got some rotten edges here and there, some rough parts that need to get sanded down.
He needs better design.
Needs better design, needs better movement, get some good animation people, stop sticking sticks up their butts. I need some better facial animations. Just do something with Seer, please. But overall, I adore that game to the point that I've replayed it probably 3 or 4 times now, and especially each time they put it out on something, I played it, downloaded
The PS5 version.
the PS5 version, as we
Same.
talked about, and it's crisp as can be, and I love going back and messing with that. But you just add a few quality of life things, add some more planets, add more plot, whatever they're gonna do next, and I'm all for it. And yeah, that's all.
Yeah, and I bet you this Fallen Order sequel, the first one was probably made with as little budget as possible.
Probably.
Relatively, like, compare how Battlefront looks, a game that seems like it was put so much money into it, and compared to Fallen Order, that
money, though.
yeah, exactly. So, and this one did more than Battlefront. Battlefront is basically dead now. There's no plans for another Battlefront, it seems like, and which sad, because eventually that game got there, but it can never remove the stink of its first impression.
Especially when they added a lot of the prequel stuff in there.
That's when it got better.
I love that.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan and Anakin are still like the strongest characters in that game, and I love
just the maps. Just the maps, you know, like Felucia, Geonosis, like, it's just so pretty. It's like, I've always said, like, some people always kind of like to talk crap about the prequel era, sometimes justifiably so, because those movies obviously have some flaws. I love them because I grew on them, and I appreciate them even more because at least they're coherent compared to that mess that's the sequel trilogy. And it also stands for me as like, there's the imagination of that prequel trilogy shines for video games. Yes. That's why, like, the combat, like, the clone army versus the droid army, much better than the Resistance versus the First Order. When I play the sequel stuff from Battlefront, just doesn't feel as exciting, other than Crate. I like Crate as a map, the from The Last Jedi, like the Hoth looking, yeah. But other than that, they don't have anything notable compared to, like, the prequels. So that's why, like, that game really came to life when the prequel stuff got added in. Plus the removal of the loot box progression, everything they did to change that game. But back to Fallen Order. At first, I was like, are they gonna put multiplayer and in Fallen Order? Yeah. That's what I thought, because it's like, this is a senior multiplayer designer, and it's so funny that he comes from Halo Infinite, because the Halo Infinite design for the multiplayer, very chef kiss. But if he can bring that sensibility into better designed combat encounters for Fallen Order, because
if he's now the senior encounter designer, that's good.
Yes, because
that's where you get tension.
Yes, and not only that, because sometimes, like, the combat, I love the combat of Fallen Order, but it feels very sloppy sometimes. There's, like, sometimes there's no rhyme and reason at times, and when some enemies can move in the specific area, sometimes they are clipping through the environment because of the way it hasn't been properly designed. It's like, again, there's a lack of artistry design in Fallen Order that you can forget, because it's still really fun. That's what's funny. So I think this automatically is going to make that sequel even better, and I already know that it's going to be better because EA has mentioned that was such a surprise for them. That is the game that rehabilitated their thoughts on single player games. So, final story, and I've been waiting for this one. The Grand Theft Auto, the Trilogy Definitive Edition, launched this past week with no reviews and no early footage, and it's been nothing short of a dumpster fire. Over on PC, the game was actually removed from the Rockstar PC launcher because apparently it included files that were not supposed to be included in it, as well as the games themselves being so broken they couldn't even be started on PC. Over on consoles, things haven't been going so smooth either, with many videos and images circulated that showed the FUBAR character models, some insane bugged out effects like rain, and a general level of technical instability that put Rockstar's 3 beloved classics in a horrible light. Fans have been asking for refunds and demanding Rockstar release the classic versions they removed from sale a few weeks ago in preparation for these remasters that should be called demasters, as they're review bombing old versions of the game on Metacritic, making the game one of the lowest reviewed user ratings for any game in recent memories. All of them having like a 0.6 or 0.7, with the PS5 version having like a 1.1. Paul, I owe everyone an apology for saying that it was okay for them to remove this the original versions of these games, because they had listed so many improvements that it was like, why would you ever want to go back to those? I tell you, as someone that downloaded San Andreas because it's on Game Pass, and from its first mission that you're in the bikes clipping through the world, I was like, it is an embarrassment that all three of these games are being charged $60. The images I have kept posting of the deformed faces and bodies, I have no words. Like,
this is exactly what happens when a company gets so big that they think a concept is cooler than the execution from it. I think it was you that posted the video or the picture that they up-resed and used AI to replace the designs and the text on signs and stuff, so that it actually just ruined all of the signs or made them the wrong sign entirely, ruining all the jokes that were carefully curated. And it's when you do something like that, you clearly do not want to put an actual effort in, because that means somebody didn't actually go over it. Or if they did, it was like, I clearly don't have the time to fix this problem because I've got 40 of these problems to deal with. And that's not good management. You need to have not industry, that's too large of a term. You need to have a culture in your company that, everything you do should kind of push things. And obviously there's not going to be enough time or resources for all of it. But when you have so little resources put towards a project like this, that you've got all of those problems going on in these trilogy definitive editions, it's a huge, I don't want to say middle finger to the community.
No,
I would say a
totally
middle finger to the entire industry itself, of saying we just don't have the time to care about this, even if you want it and we want to give it to you for money.
Yeah, finding out that the people that ported the GTA games to mobile in 2011 were tasked with this immediately tells you
it explains a lot.
Yeah, they didn't care for the absolute minimum to put the time and care to get the new official re-release of 3 of the games that put Rockstar on the map. Right. When you think of Rockstar games, they're a synonym of care and quality. This is the complete opposite of all of that. Is that this is the company that took the major, like, even though they had released GTA 5 like 5 years before, they basically took 8 years to go back to Red Dead. And look how insanely immaculately QA'd and detailed and polished Red Dead 2 was. Obviously, there's some problem with their design, but
we might have problems with that, but
the quality in display, like the quality in display, is like, it's the one thing that you can respect it. I always say I respect Red Dead more than I enjoy playing it. Absolutely. And I love that story. And playing through the San Andreas one is like, at times I can see and remember how fun the PS2 era GTA games were, because there was no semblance of reality or physics reality, so it's like more cartoony and all that. But
for its time, there was nothing done before that.
These were the open world games before open world was even a thing. That's the thing. They were the only ones doing it. So that's the importance of this trilogy. And this is basically you imagine the original Star Wars trilogy, given obviously they got the special edition treatment in 1997, but not done by George Lucas. That like completely farmed out and completely crapped on with like bad effects, like completely disrespecting the original visual intent. And there's like no semblance that there was care put in. This is what I think this is the closest analogy I can put of that. Is like, this is if what George Lucas did in 1997 was done badly. And it kind of, you hear what makes me sad. Sometimes I want games to just be announced and released. because I think that's more exciting. Like there's that certain level of excitement that we wait years for many games, but there's also something cool. The Fallout 4 method of this is officially revealed here and released the same year. This is the kind of thing that hurts that practice, because obviously this was revealed back in July. We first heard of this, and it came out this year.
For a long time.
Yes. It was rumored through the whole thing, and we had a lot of false starts. So, it may be coming in 2022, and then no, it's actually happening. And now seeing this, it's like it just gives the rain effect. That when you look at the ocean, you don't really see rain because the ocean has been rendered on top of the effects they put for rain that you can't even see. Man, this is this year's Cyberpunk. That's the thing, and I would argue it's even worse.
I would say they need to put some respect on Cyberpunk's name compared to this.
Yes, but that's because the thing. You're both like swimming in manure over what happened there, but there's a difference that they.
But my manure smells better than theirs.
Yes, but think about it this way, because I saw this in the because I read it in the Forbes article that kind of compared it to. He mentioned, like, Paul Tassi from Forbes mentioned it. The big difference that in Cyberpunk was someone that the ambition was they wanted to reach the sun, and then they burned like Icarus. This wasn't even aiming high, and it still missed. Like, it's like this is like the bottom of the barrel, like as minimalist job as you can possibly think of. And what sucks is that when I first saw it and I saw the art style, I was like, this is kind of cool, because
it was a cool idea.
Because it's like because I always say, like, those GTA games are like have always been cartoony. They're heightened. They're not supposed to be realistic. So it makes sense that they would keep a cartoony look, but that cartoony look has been half-assertedly implemented. Where in some characters, I'm like, you are CJ, and like I only have San Andreas experience that I played yesterday because I had seen enough. I was like, I need to see this, so I installed it in my Xbox One. And some of the main characters that you interact, some have like lips like this. Hey, this is CJ. How are you doing? So, but others look like, okay, this is not too bad. But there's this section where you go to eat, like, because when you're in the training, and then the character comes with you, he wants to steal the money of the place where you're eating, and then just there's animation skips, like someone's like this, and in less second he's already shooting you. It's like there's like the kind of amateurish animation that I'm like, wow, this is nuts. This is absolute nuts that this can look like this. And here's what I've always wondered, because I think Rockstar, Take-Two have been one of those like companies that have been getting away with doing a lot of crappy, shady stuff. Will this matter? If there's something that I have been very happy with recent happenings, is that it seems that people have spoken sometimes with their wallet. People have like put companies to the fire. And I know 2K, especially Take-Two with what it has been doing with NBA 2K, that every year they are just seeing how much they can push the greediness to the point that they included a freaking casino in an E-rated game in NBA 2K for the microtransactions. That, yeah, it's that they have been an incredibly scummy company, but that because they're not think of as Activision, as the Ubisofts and EA have been getting away with so much. But people always buy their stuff. Just look how insane GTA 5 has sold. I truly hope that there's a reckoning and that they just can't put out crap. And I'll say this, it's kind of sad that one of the Hauser brothers, the writer, left, but it makes me wonder, this guy that was also a writer, was he also in charge of the quality that was put out there? And him leaving means that they just threw away all the quality. Dan Hauser. So
that's actually a good point. In the end, it came and went, but I hope this leads to positive response by Rockstar and Take-Two, because they can't get away with this. It sounds like they're not going to, at least from a monetary standpoint, but I really want them to learn the right lesson from this. Not the, oh, so people don't want PlayStation 2 era GTA. Okay, well, we'll just do this other thing. Yeah. Because, like, the greedy companies like that can absolutely learn the wrong lesson.
Yeah, completely misread. I mean,
You know what this absolutely is as well is they probably had a good idea leading up to it, and then they said, "Oh no, GTA 5 for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X really needs like all of your people. We're gonna put them on this." You know what else? When that happened, that's exactly what happened to Red Dead Online,
Mm-hmm.
because they said, "Oh no, yeah, we want to put this out, but we really want to make
Mm-hmm.
sure GTA 5 is good." So they keep reallocating resources from their other projects, and it leads to crap like this
Yeah,
that just doesn't work.
I
This
know.
is the second time they've done this.
Yes. And on top of that, I know that there has been a mandate that they have wanted more Rockstar games to be out, and maybe this was kind of like their compromise of like, okay, you want more from us, we can re-release old stuff. But man, talking about like doing like the bare minimum, the absolute bare minimum.
Sometimes making it worse.
Yes. So, oh man, this is I think I'm also glad this happened because you know sometimes you need to be pulled down from a cloud. Like some companies need to have that remembrance of
Yeah.
not to be too high up for your horses. And obviously GTA is like riding the highest horse possible with 150 million GTA 5 copies sold and counting. Because the imagine how many they're gonna sell now that the next gen version that's coming on March is gonna be out. And
Actually play it.
yeah, and not only that, like think about it this way: is like, there's been complaints that the PS5 version of that game that they've been showing doesn't look like there's been any work done.
Nope.
So the laziness is like reeking everywhere now. So, but will it matter?
Great.
That's I hope. I think like people showed their disgust with Cyberpunk. People seemingly are showing their disgust with Activision. They showed their disgust with Ubisoft enough that one of their announced projects got delayed indefinitely 3 days after it was announced. So maybe there's hope still for humanity, and reacting that this is not acceptable. This is completely, utterly unacceptable. So, and I'm glad I didn't pay for this because I said there's nothing of interest outside of Vanguard in November that I was interested. I was like, maybe this would be a good time to play. I'm glad I didn't. I would have felt the burn of the $60 in this one.
Yeah.
And thankfully for Game Pass, it also showed me. He's like, yeah, no need. This is at max a $20 purchase for me in the future. And I'll see if they ever put it that cheap for all
Maybe
three of them.
$5 each for me.
Yes. And with that, that concludes the news section of the show. And we are now transitioning to what have we been playing / topic. And for everyone that watched this fairly meaty news section for this show, we want to thank you so much. And Paul, I hope you enjoyed your anniversary week vacation, and then we'll see you for the next one. And for everyone, remember,
Press X
to play.
Adios.